Hello, Warren. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing just ducky. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Need
Hey.
to find some help.
Is that for you personally or for work?
Well, right now, I'm the only inspector.
Yeah, we need help is an understatement.
Problem is, county canceled all the civil service exams, so there's no list to pull from.
Got it. Got it. All right. Hi, Gabby. How are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good. Kevin?
Coming in.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Hello? Hello, can everybody hear me here?
Yes. Yes.
I had my 8-year-old sign me on to the Zoom meeting. This is all new to me here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad when you have to
Help
ask.
you out with that. I said, okay, hook me up, Katrina.
So I'm going to rename you just so that, because we're going to record this and I want to make sure we have all the names correct. So can you tell me your name?
My name is Nardino Ricci,
N
Nardino.
RITCIE. Okay, good.
Okay.
We have the DeSico family I see. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Hello, guys.
Warren, we're going to grab your last name here, Warren. Gabby, I'm going to rename you as well.
I'm on.
And Bob, how are you?
Oh, just ducky. Hi, happy faces.
Crazy world we're living in here, gentlemen.
Yeah, I know. Who would ever think the Yankees aren't going to make the playoffs?
I know, right? Bizarre.
I have faith. I have.
You do. God bless.
Wonder what those tickets are going to go for.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Hi, Jason.
Hey everyone, how are you?
Fine.
Hello.
That's my favorite attorney.
Hi, Jason. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Good. Andy, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And you?
I'm gonna be glad when today's over. So.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Well, you're running the meeting.
Difficult day. You know, I lost a nephew in a motorcycle accident, so it was the one in Kerhonkson, the young man in Kerhonkson. So.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Really sorry to hear that, Andy.
Rough day today. You know, we had the not the services, but the calling hours. So.
All right. Hi, Lois. How are you?
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Good.
Good. Sorry, I was having a hard time signing in. And
You're on time. No worries.
I'm no video, right?
You're no video.
And that's the way it's going to stay. I was stung by a bee right above my eye. I looked like I got hit with a softball. So, I'm no video. Okay.
No problem. No
My
problem.
luck.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. And actually, let me make sure it's mute on entry. So I'm going to mute everybody, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So, all right. I call the September zoning board meeting to order. And we'll go ahead and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have a motion to approve the August minutes?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Gabby, can you call the roll on this one?
Ms. Smith? Everybody's muted. While the board members, please unmute at the moment. Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Turko-Levin?
Here.
Mr. Porter?
Present.
Mr. Reginato?
Yes.
Chairman Ring?
Yes. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the August minutes?
I'll make that motion. I know Kevin did.
Yeah, I thought we just did that.
I'm sorry, I'm reading through the agenda. Okay. I'd like to open the public hearing for Alicia DeSico and Kyle Hassett. And this is for an area variance on the 6-foot fence within the setback on Country Lane in Lake Katrine. And give me a minute and I will pull up the application with the diagram. Okay. All right, can everyone see this?
I can see it just fine if you can hear me.
Okay. The process is the applicant will just talk through the application and the project, and we'll give the public an opportunity to make comments, and then we'll discuss among the board. And we'll vote on it. So the floor is yours. There you go.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks. My name is Kenneth Hassett. I'm representing Kyle Hassett and Alicia DeSico this evening. I'm Kyle's dad. Kyle's a deputy sheriff, and unfortunately, he is working this evening, so he can't attend this. So as the chairman asked to walk through it, it's a very simple request to put up a 6-foot fence on the neighborhood road side of Kyle and Alicia's house. The fact that their house abuts 2 sides, neighborhood road and Country Lane, it doesn't afford them any privacy. So they're looking for a 6-foot fence with the setbacks that you guys have asked for, very simply for the privacy factor that it would give them. Okay.
And
So
so the variance that you're requesting is from a 4-foot fence to a 6-foot fence.
There's no fence.
Well, there's no fence there presently.
Right, and you could put a 4-foot fence without going to the board. It's the
Correct.
height of the fence that is the variance.
Correct. And a 4-foot fence wouldn't give them the privacy that they would be looking for.
Yep.
So they're requesting the 6-foot fence, as has been given to some neighbors in the immediate vicinity in the past. So there's a precedent set there, it seems. And in my research, for an area variance, it's a benefit to the homeowner versus a detriment to the town. And a 6-foot fence doesn't seem like it should be a detriment to the town in any way, shape, or form. And also with the fact that there's no line of sight issues on the neighborhood roadside for a 6-foot fence. So that shouldn't be an issue at all. Line of sight issues for walkers, pedestrians, or vehicles traveling either way. It doesn't seem like it would present any line of sight issues. So that's why Kyle and Alicia are asking for the variance for the 6-foot fence.
Okay. I'd like to open up for any public comments. If you would like to ask the applicant questions or comment on the project, please just unmute your microphone and begin talking and state your name and where you reside.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Mayo, and I reside at 618 Neighborhood Road, directly across the street from Alicia and Kyle.
Okay.
I've watched them do quite a bit of work to their property, and I think that everything that they've done has beautified the property. And I think that allowing them this fence, as Mr. Hassett said, does not cause a detriment to anyone in the neighborhood or in the immediate community, and does allow them to enjoy the hard work that they've been putting into their house. As their direct across the street neighbor, I believe that if anybody was going to weigh in to say that it was an eyesore or something like that, it would be me. And I don't see that as it being the case, especially since the immediate neighbor to their right, if I'm looking at their house, already has a 6-foot fence of white vinyl fence.
And are you the newly remodeled blue, dark blue house that sits in that vicinity?
I am, yes.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Yeah, hi. If I could say a few words, my name is Troy Ashdown. I live at 36 Country Lane, right next door to Kyle and Alicia, and we did apply for. We have a 6-foot vinyl fence. We were granted a variance approximately 2 years ago to put our fence up for the very same reasons that Kyle and Alicia are asking for as well. So, you know, we have set a precedent here in the neighborhood. And if they're going to put up a white vinyl fence, I think it would be uniform, and I just don't see it pose a problem at all for obvious reasons. But we put our fence up 2 years ago and asked for the variance because we wanted privacy as well. And, you know, we have a smaller child too, so, you know, we didn't want her, you know, running out into the road and so forth. But yeah, I think it would be great if they put a fence up. I can't see why it would be an issue at all in the neighborhood.
And just for reference, your fence, how far does it sit from the curb, from the roadway approximately?
Well, we put ours back approximately 12 foot. And the reason why we did is because, you know, the plows, that's the main thoroughfare there, an emergency run. And when those plows come sailing through in the winter months, you know, the snow goes back probably a good 8-9 feet. Our fence would have been destroyed if we'd had it any closer, I think. So we had our setback just about 12 foot off of the curb.
And Mr. Hassett, how far back I know there was some discussion last month on how far back they would want to, your son would want to put the fence. Do you recall where they would like to put it?
Yes, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I do recall they had originally requested a 10-foot setback, but I think they would be conducive to a 12-foot to, again, stay in line with Mr. Ashdown saying, you know, talking about it being uniform, you know, as far as eyesight. So I'm not privy this evening as to what their original request was. Was it a 10 or a 12? No. But if it was a 10, I'm sure that they would amend themselves to a 10-foot setback to say uniform.
To me, it looks like a six feet. Is it?
Yes.
From yeah, and that's the only thing I had and it was maybe, and Troy said the exact same thing, is 6 feet that close to the street is going to get completely destroyed. Sure. with snow plowing, and then when the kids do walk in the winter, then they will be forced to walk out onto the street, even more so with the snowbanks piling up. So, you know,
the original drawing was for 6 foot, but hearing this about snowplows, we would
no 8. They want to go, and I thought I saw you say
8. It was 8 foot.
From the curb.
Okay. I asked for 8 foot.
8 foot. Okay, now you
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The original request. The original request was for 8 feet.
Well, so I just want to be clear about this here. The law allows you to put a 4-foot fence much closer to the road, within 6 feet of the road. The variance is not the distance from the road. The variance is the height of the fence. Now, if we grant the height, we can also add conditions to say you could have the 2 additional feet, but you have to do it X amount of feet away from the roadway. So that's why I'm just kind of want to understand, you know, in the proximity from the curb where, you know, you wanted to place a fence.
Well, I would like to see that fence at 8 foot.
Who's speaking?
Sal, DeSico, Alicia's father.
Okay.
I'm the one that, I was at the first meeting, and you guys went back and forth on this 6 foot fence, 6 foot back versus 8 foot back versus 10 foot.
Yep.
I think if we go to 12 feet, they have lost the entire yard.
Yeah.
There's nothing left.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not a deep lot. If it was a deep lot, it'd be fine. But, you know, they're mowing 12 feet close to the road and then another 12 feet to the house. I mean, what do you do with 12 feet of grass, let's call it? You know, I would say, you know, if possible, I would like to see it at 6 foot. 8 foot would be the max. And we'll take the chance on if it gets wrecked in the wintertime.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Can I ask a question before you close it, Jeffrey?
Sure.
Okay, in reference to, hi, my name is Lois Smith, in case you can't see me. In reference to the fence, what Ms. Turco was saying with you too was we had an issue with the height of the fence because of the bus stop. I was really concerned about the bus stop and not being able to see the kids. As Mr. Ashdown stated, his fence is far enough away from the road that, God forbid, a kid is walking to school, one of the students, because Miller's right there, of course, Chambers is, Crosby's there also, but when there's snow accumulated and from the plows that our guys are so good at clearing up the roads, by the time morning comes, there's already snowbanks established. Now a child, instead of having a sidewalk to escape to, they have to hope that they can climb that snowbank, and then the fence is right there. And that was my true concern. And I do respectfully say, I respect that you're worried about your fence being destroyed, because vinyl fences are beautiful and they're costly. But my concern is the students. And I know this from experience from living out there for, I think, a year or 2 years, that my son walked from Lake Trine Apartments to Miller School. And at one point, he had to get out of the way of a car. There was a post in somebody's yard that they didn't want the kids walking in the grass on Fordham Place Road, and he ripped his sweatshirt. And I know this because I had to sew it, thank God. But I said, how did you rip it? And sure enough, you know, if you ever drive that road on a school morning and you see the cars side by side, not just on Neighborhood Road, but on Fordham Place Road, there is no sidewalk. This has been an issue. I have to tell you, I don't agree with putting it in the setback. In reference to your height, that's not my issue. My issue is the students and adults also that walk that road, because it's a beautiful place to walk.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman? Yes.
I'd just like to add, Ms. Smith just mentioned the sidewalk. There is no sidewalk there. So sidewalk is not an issue, Mrs. Smith, on that particular road.
I understand that. I walk that road as well.
Hold on, you were just referencing another totally different road with a sidewalk and the issues that it created there. There is no sidewalk here. And the presumption on the town's part, it would seem to me, that walkers have a right to my son's property. That seems like it's a little overreaching. So you got to be careful there. You got to be careful there. If you want to create a sidewalk district, then that's a whole totally different issue. Totally different.
Sure,
we can't create a sidewalk district here at this meeting and this variance. Because again,
sir, with all due respect, that's not what we're trying to do. If you let me finish, that's not what we're trying to do.
Please finish, because I'm confused.
Okay. I'm well aware that there's no sidewalk there. I think all of our board members are. I can't speak for them, but I think that we're all aware. And as I said to you, my son did walk to school there. I grew up, my nanny lived right there. So I'm well aware of the situation that there is no sidewalk. I'm not trying to open up a can of worms with sidewalk. This is in reference to this application before us. And
Yes.
our job as board members is to have the best interest of you, your family, the applicant, and the residents of that community. And that's what I have to represent as a person.
Absolutely. I'm very familiar with what you do. Very
Mr.
familiar.
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, it's Tom Mayon from 618 Neighborhood Road, if I may be heard again.
Sure.
When the people who are familiar with this road, who've walked it or driven it, should know, or it would be knowledgeable of them, that for the first several hundred feet of neighborhood road leaving Miller or the town hall building, if you're driving towards the Lake Katrina Apartments and or making the left onto what continues as neighborhood road, children and people do not walk from Miller to the Kyle and Alicia's property, because there's a giant hill that the first two houses are built on, and the hill comes to an end at the border of Kyle and Alicia's property, where, you know, from my vision, the leftmost part of their fence would be, it would butt up against the hill. So there is a chain link fence on the hill and a lot of shrubbery on Kyle and Alicia's neighbors' hill past their fence that does not allow snow to get thrown up that. So, you know, being here for 2 years, watching people walk, they do walk in front of my house and both of my neighbors' house, because we have relatively flat front yards, and the street allows them to see, you know, the traffic in both directions. Whereas if they were walking on the other side in either direction, you can't make out any traffic. So it's not safe for them to walk on that side of the street, regardless of this fence or setback. So I just wanted to be heard on that, in case that has any sway on people's vote, because if they're leaving the apartment complex or that side of neighborhood road and coming up, you know, this part of neighborhood road to get to Miller, they should be walking on my side of the street into the flow of traffic to avoid people cresting that hill and not seeing them, and then not being able to see any traffic past that hill.
Ms. Turco-Levin?
Thank you. Look, I'm all about pedestrian safety and proximity to schools. I agree that that's not the best side of the street to walk on. I drive past that frequently. I went to Miller a gazillion years ago. I think many of us probably did. But, and again, I understand putting it 12 feet back, you may as well just put it in your living room, because you have no space. I mean, even if you look at the Google Maps, your house is set completely much closer to the road than Troy's is. So I completely get it. I'm just trying to find a compromise and an easy set. You know, 8 feet, when looking at, and I'm sorry, but I am really looking at the Google Maps is an amazing thing. You know, it's kind of at an angle, and your house even sits at an angle. So to just make a flat statement of a 6 foot, it's still going to be kind of wonky. So I see where you're going with this. I feel like we have to find a good compromise for safety, for plowing. 6 feet, you're going to keep getting that fence destroyed over and over again. I really don't, and I worry about that. I'm okay with 8 or 9, but you know, it's kind of like a give take. You want your 6 feet, we're okay with giving something, but I do feel we have to keep pedestrian safety in mind, which I feel has been lacking for a very,
I
very
feel
long
like a good compromise on this issue would be 8 feet. I feel like that would have enough room if people need to get out of the way for cars, and I feel like that would be enough room for the snow to get thrown and not damage the fence. So I feel like 8 feet would be a very decent compromise for this issue.
And this is the same parcel that has the bus stop currently on, correct?
Right.
That the kids stand there. So they would have how much of a pretty basic math, how much square footage, maybe they would have 8 feet from the road to the fence. Are you saying on both,
Yes.
on the sides, that they could stand there even if there is snow gathered there or leaves or whatever there may be?
Well,
I mean, would,
go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. You understand the question I'm
First
asking.
of all, I think that bus stop should be changed to a corner. Because
We can't do that.
I know, I'm just saying, as TJ said, there's a hill towards Miller. But if cars come over, they really don't have a whole lot of time to stop.
Correct.
So
That's correct.
I think if you're worried about the kids, the bus stop should be moved down to the corner, which is, what, 100 feet down the road. You know what I mean?
I do, but that's as much of our jurisdiction as saying, okay, we'll put in sidewalks. And I agree with you. So do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand.
So I'm all about the kids. So just so that we're clear on that, I'm not against your fence. I'm not against the height of the fence. I'm about safety with these students. And Miller School students, think of their age now, when you say the most reasonable route is such and such route. But I was that, you know, sorry, I don't want to be judgmental on people that age, but they could be challenging, testy. I don't know. They don't always choose the correct route. So it's up to us.
So I would like to kind of get back on track on the variance here. Warren, a 4-foot fence does not need a variance, and they could put it how close to the road?
Well, if they didn't care about the condition of the fence, they could put it at the road.
Okay.
Now, my question is, who is this bus stop for? What age group? Since we have Miller, we have Miller and we have Crosby. So is this for the high school?
Yes. And now put yourself as a high school student or somebody, you know, even worse, somebody that's being bullied and doesn't want to stand in that group of kids. You know what I mean? This is, hello, wake up. This is today that we're talking, and it's up to us. And I understand what this homeowner is requesting, and I'm not saying it's not a fair request, but
I don't think that every request can take into consideration every social issue that we have out there today.
We take the kids into consideration, though, and that's every day.
Well, I have to agree with Mr. Mayone in the fact that once you pass this property, you could not leave the road unless you were a mountain climber.
That's right.
I mean, I'm extremely familiar with the area, having been to Mr. Mayone's house multiple times, and I drive by there going to town hall. I also agree with the fact that, but they are, you know, if they are high school students, then they're not going to pay attention to the fact that you should be on the opposite side of the road. But to be on the opposite side of the road just to cross over to go to a bus stop, yeah, they're not going to do that. They're going to take the path of least resistance, which is headed that way. Whether we can approach, you know, Department of Education to suggest a recommendation to move the bus stop, that's really not in our wheelhouse.
Hello? Is my mic off?
It is now. We can hear you now.
Thank you. I'm trying to get your attention. Yeah, I think I made a phone call over to the school district. Right now, they don't have a bus schedule. Second off, they don't usually put a bus stop in the middle of the road. It's generally on the corners for the sake of safety and transportation of the children. The little tykes wouldn't walk across that road and catch the bus on the other side. So what's the difference between a 4-foot fence on the road? Oh, wonderful. A 4-foot fence on the road and a 6-foot fence 8 feet away from the road. I mean, it gets kind of, I don't know, we're trying to apples and oranges on this issue. If somebody's going to walk from a middle school, they're going to walk. You can't do anything about it. If there's a snowbank, they're not going to walk on a snowbank. They're going to walk on the road. We're not here for that. We're here to see what does this do with the variance? It looks very much like the rest of the neighborhood. If he could put his fence on the road at 4 feet, okay, then what is wrong in having this fence off the road 6 or 8 feet? No issue. Oops. There is.
Warren,
Is anyone here call the school board to find out, school district to find out what's their criteria for school stops? They aren't forever in concrete. That stop can change tomorrow.
Yeah.
This
I agree.
property doesn't change.
In Warren, they could plant 6-foot bushes on the property that could effectively be a fence, correct?
Yeah.
Not within the setback. I read it, I thought the same thing. I said, well, that would be beautiful. Because I was
Lois,
thinking,
let me ask Warren, since he is our town code enforcement.
The definition of a fence as a barricade includes shrubbery. So if they planted something, you know, that close to the road, they'd have to trim it to 4 feet.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yep. Okay.
So we good at 8 foot?
Are we're still on the public comment period,
Still
so,
on the fence, huh?
yep. Are we done with the public comments?
Yeah, I mean, Troy Ash down here, I have nothing further to say. I don't have any problem with our neighbors, Kyle and Alicia, putting their fence, you know, at 8 foot back is fine. I mean, if they're comfortable with 8 foot, great. It doesn't impact our life one way or another. I mean, I just have mine back a little bit further, having observed the last 5 winters here. But again, it's personal choice. Listen, if they're comfortable with a fence at 8 foot, we're comfortable with a fence at 8 foot, living right next door to them. So no concerns here. And by the way, I have to tell you, I've never observed a bus stop. I've never seen kids standing outside of say Kyle's garage or driveway there. We have observed kids on the corner of Country Lane getting picked up in the past. Never out on Neighborhood Road where Mr. Mayone's house is, and or Kyle's house across the street. I've never observed kids standing there in the last 5 years that we've lived here.
Yeah, when my daughter was in high school, she got the bus on the corner of Country Lane and Neighborhood Road. So there's never been a bus drop off behind our house, which is next door to Alicia and Kyle. So I'm like a little confused about the bus stop situation.
There is none there.
Okay. Well, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Right.
Gabby, roll call?
Ms. Smith,
yes.
Mr. Levin,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Reginato,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. All right, is there a discussion among the board?
Well, I don't think it should fall on the DeSico's shoulders to worry about, you know, I'm sure they do, but I don't think it should fall on their shoulders to worry about where the kids are walking on the road. I don't think that should have anything to do with the variance that they're requesting. If it's legal for them to put a fence 4 foot high right up next to the road, and they're willing to compromise with a 6 foot fence, and on top of that put it 8 foot back, and the various neighbors here that have come out in support of that, I think that's a positive, and I personally I don't see a problem with it.
Mhm. Yeah, I have to concur with that because it matches the rest of that line of sight. I mean, that rest of that section there, it's consistent. You can't control what adolescents do. It's impossible. They'll walk on the snowbank, or they'll walk on the road, or they'll run in the middle of the road. Can't do anything about that. Okay. That's the school district's problem. They need to deal with that issue. Yeah, I was hard pressed to figure out why they would put a bus stop in the middle of a road. And I knew it was a middle school, it was right next to Miller, so it wouldn't be middle school. And it wouldn't be the elementary, because they don't do that to cross the road. They put them on a corner where it's safe to cross the children, or on the same side as it should be. Hello, Rathgard, that's my cat. So I think we're okay with that 8 feet. That should take care of all the concerns that I see.
Can I weigh in?
Yes, Warren.
I was told in one of my code classes, because I attempted to enforce a code that I thought would prevent children from injuring themselves, that that is not our job.
Correct.
We are not tasked with, raising the kids. We can obviously have concerns and address them as best we can, but that basically we're overstepping our bounds in that we're trying to tell, the parents what their kids should and should not do. That's what was expressed to me from the state.
All right, if we're done with discussion, then I would like to make a motion.
Wait a second. The bus stops, let me explain to you. My mom ran the city buses for years.
Lois, do you have facts regarding bus stops or busing on this property or in the general location on the property? Not what happened years ago, not.
That's not what I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, if you'd let me finish. Thank you. So DOT puts a lot of consideration into their bus stops. And we're changing what DOT.
I don't think the DOT determines
Department
where
of
the bus stops
Transportation. Department of Transportation is hand in hand with school transportation. They have to work hand in hand with them. So they put a lot of thought into these bus stops. And I don't disagree with the fence. I truly don't. I just want to be sure that the fence isn't taller than what these students are. And if somebody really needs, I feel like we're altering this bus stop, and I don't think that that's our jurisdiction to alter this space that was created for these kids to stand at.
I haven't found a bus stop from the
Do we have the facts that there is, has anybody brought any facts that there is a bus stop here?
I couldn't find any. They haven't even posted the bus stops for this year, so. And they yanked all the last year's off the websites.
I mean, we need to stick to the facts. And if we have a bus stop schedule, bus stop location, then I'm happy to discuss that. But absent one, I don't think we have facts that we can make and base a decision on.
So then we should be able to adjourn this until we find the facts and where the bus stop is.
I'm not going to adjourn this. We're going to vote on this tonight.
Thank you.
Is there any more discussion?
Is there any way we could talk and maybe come to some kind of a mutual agreement that maybe lower the fence instead of 8 foot within the setback?
Be an 8-foot fence, you idiot.
It's 6 foot fence.
6 foot, I'm
Lois.
sorry. I apologize. I'm reading as I'm talking. I apologize. Instead of a 6 foot fence.
Mr. Chairman, can we have a vote?
But a 4-foot fence is moot because he can put it anywhere he wants.
Yep.
So,
Right.
I mean, I think we need to figure out a happy compromise here. There are precedents that have really been set. I think, he still deserves to have some yard to be able to utilize if you make it go 12 feet. And we don't even know that there's a school bus stop. And in my opinion, I think the whole safe routes to school thing needs to be looked at on a larger scale. And that's way above our pay grade tonight. These people want to have privacy. They want to feel secure. Should a kid run outside, that there's some kind of a barrier, and they don't want to, I think they're willing to compromise somewhat. So I'll make the motion that I'll support the motion, Jeffrey, of the 8-foot setback for the 6-foot fence so we can move on.
So again, I want to be clear. The variance is for a 6-foot fence, not a 4-foot fence.
Correct.
And I think that I have not heard anyone who has a concern of the 6-foot fence over the 4-foot fence. What we're debating is if we decide to put any restrictions on the granting of the variance in terms of how far from the street it goes. I'm not inclined to give any restrictions, given that they've said that they will do it at 8 feet anyway. So if I make the motion, I'm going to make it with no restrictions. So I'm going to leave it open here for the rest of the board to make a motion. If no one wants to, then I will.
I see your point, Jeffrey, I'm sorry. I see your point in granting it as an open thing today, but once it's in, it's in. I feel like we should somehow put in that setback requirement if it's a 6-foot fence, because even you said, if it's a 4-foot fence, he can go all the way to the street if he wants without any variance whatsoever. So I think it should be stated in the variance that they have to comply with the setback if they want to continue having a 6-foot fence.
Can I weigh in?
Sorry.
Yes,
to
Warren.
disagree.
So in the past, most recently on Greenbrook, we granted a variance for a 6-foot fence and we specified the distance from the road, just so we're clear.
Yep.
We have done.
And that's what I'm in favor of doing.
So Andy, do you want to put that in form of a motion?
I'm happy to put that in form of a motion, is to grant them the variance to allow them a 6-foot fence, providing they meet the 8-foot setback requirements.
I would second that.
Thank you.
And just so we're clear, that's 8 feet from the curb, 8 feet from the edge of the road, 8 feet from, Warren, do we need to specify it?
The curb and the edge of the road are identical in this situation.
Correct.
Okay,
It doesn't have to be the center of the road. The curb works fine.
okay.
Curb works fine.
All right.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Gabby, can you call the roll?
Ms. Smith,
No.
Ms. Turco-Levin,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Reginato,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Enjoy your fence.
Thank you very much.
All right, I would like to open the preliminary hearing for Albany 7 LLC. Dino Ritchie, is there a representative here for that?
He was here.
Okay. We'll come back to that then. Is Mr. John Peterson here?
I thought it was over.
It is.
Who? Is Mr. John Peterson here? All right, we'll come back.
They're
I saw-
muted. That's the one under iPhone.
Yep. Hi,
Can you hear us?
yes. Is this the Peterson family?
Yes, sorry, we were muted.
Okay, all right, let me bring up your application. All right. Okay. Have you been through this before?
We have not.
Okay, so the first night, we would ask you to describe your project and describe the variance that you're requesting. Talk through the diagram here and anything else in terms of conditions and pertinent information that you would like the board to know and take into consideration in this matter.
Okay, so basically, we're looking to put in a 6-foot high fence on our property. It's a corner property, 16 Dirk Lane. And what we're requesting relief from is on the frontage of the property, we have 40 feet, so we can comply with the 30-foot requirement. And along Sherry Lane, we just like to request a 15-foot variance from that 30-foot minimum.
Okay, so there's two variances here, right? One is for a 6-foot fence and a front setback, and the
Nope. There should be no request. There's no variance for a 6-foot fence. That shouldn't be an issue. What we're really requesting is the relief from the 30-foot minimum setback along Sherry Lane. It's only on one side of the property.
But Sherry Lane would be a front setback on a corner lot.
The front is Dirk Lane.
Well, you have two fronts. You have
Okay.
Sherry Lane and Dirt.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I apologize.
So it should be one variance, similar to the last one we just were talking about, a 6-foot fence in the front setback.
correct. Correct.
So we're asking for 15 feet instead of the 30.
Again, you could put a 4-foot fence all the way up to the road. What you're asking for is, can I put a 6-foot fence in the front setback? That's what you're asking for. That's the variance.
Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
But he's getting caught up on a technicality because technically that is a side yard because, you know, but because he is in a corner lot, they consider it. So it's really semantics.
Yeah.
Having lived on a corner lot, I understand completely. No, I don't anymore, but I do understand.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board?
Not at this point.
Nice pool.
Thank you.
And is the fence part of the security for the pool?
No.
No, we already have a fence around the pool. This is
Okay.
actually, we have 3 dogs.
3 dogs. And can they jump over a 4-foot fence?
Yes. Maybe.
One of them may be able to.
Might be able to. We don't
He's
want
a-
to. We
he's
don't
a
want to
puppy.
find out.
Okay.
Where is the house in relationship? It's just pretty sketchy for me.
So if you went to the end of Miller's Lane
Okay.
and you took a left, that's on Dirk. The first road to the right is Sherry.
I know that, but I mean, according to this picture, I'm trying to find some of these things here. It's a little difficult. Does your house sit within that fence area?
No, the house.
No, it's right in front of where the pool is depicted.
Okay, wood frame dwelling.
Yes.
Correct? Thank you.
Correct.
Yeah, I was just looking for a outline.
Use Google Maps.
I can say I've been there multiple times due to the ongoing renovations, and a 6-foot fence in that location will not affect sight lines turning from Dirk to Sherry Lane.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Okay. So Warren, you have no issue with that?
No, I'm everywhere. I see everything.
I have one question is how far forward on Sherry Lane is the fence going to go?
We're asking for 15 feet setback.
15
On
feet.
both, on both Dirk and for Sherry, both Dirk
No,
and Sherry?
on Dirk, it's where we want to put it is about 41 feet off of Dirk Lane. So we're more than
Okay,
30
so kind of
feet.
like midway between the house, kind of, I'm looking at the Google map, kind of like halfway between the house, because you got a tree there on the corner.
Yeah,
I
if
get-
you look at the side of the, like where the garage is or that corner of the house,
Yep.
it would actually come straight off of the garage, which is a 41 feet setback from Dirk Lane.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so anybody coming down Sherry is going to have absolutely no problem being able to see who's coming on Dirk Lane. So,
No.
yeah.
No,
you're-
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was only that's my only concern. You're fine.
We're using the same program because that corner's got a lot of line of sight there.
Yeah.
15.
I Google map everything.
Yeah, it's been a habit of mine for years.
So
I
real
go out.
estate.
I go out in the
live with it.
field.
I like the 360. I like the 360, and it really helps it out a lot.
Okay. Do we have a motion then? Do we have a motion to move this to a public hearing?
I'll motion to move it to public hearing.
I'll second that motion. Gabby?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Turco-Levin,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Reginato,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. All right, so next month you'll come back and do the same thing that the other family did, which is to, go over your project again. I would encourage you to give Gabby a better drawing, maybe that, could place things. It's very hard to see.
Can we give pictures?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Pictures are good.
Yes.
Google Map with pencils. Works
Yeah.
every time. Google Maps and a Sharpie. That's all you need.
Okay, I'll do it.
That's
All right.
the pro.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'd like to open the preliminary hearing for Ian McGrew.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Ian. And you've not been through this before, I take it?
I have not, correct.
Okay, so it's just like the last family. What you need to do is just to talk through your project. Let me pull up your application here.
Sure.
And another 6-foot fence.
Is there a sale on 6-foot fences?
I think so.
Probably only you can buy at Home Depot.
Pandemic project. I want one. I'm not kidding. I'm serious.
Popular evening.
All right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, basically we're just looking, we have about a 380 square foot patio on the side of our house, which is the Plainfield Street side. And we're just looking to expand that patio into more or less our side yard. And we have a 6-foot fence around that patio currently. We're just looking to extend that fence further.
Okay.
And it's 11 feet. Technically, it's 10 feet 10 inches from the from pavement curb.
From Plainfield.
From Plainfield.
Are you also on the corner?
I am. Yep. We are.
Is this conspiracy, you guys?
I think so.
I could see no sightline issues on this one either.
Okay.
Is there a bus stop?
So there is a bus stop.
Sign off now?
Yeah.
There's no bus stop.
There is a bus stop.
Probably in a
Sidewalks or sidewalks?
There is no sidewalk. There is a bus stop at the corner of Southfield and
Plainfield.
Yeah, we don't care what goes on down this street. We just
yeah,
care about what's
yeah.
going on.
It comes
I
down
don't.
Plainfield though. So
All right, thanks. I'm good.
Okay, do we have a motion to move this to public hearing then?
I'll make that motion. Move to public hearing.
I'll second that.
Gabby, can you call the roll?
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Turco-Levin,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Reginato,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. All right, we'll see you next month.
thanks,
Thanks
guys.
so much.
Have a good night.
You
Yep.
too.
Okay, is there a representative from Albany 7 LLC? There we go. Mr. Ritchie.
Absolutely.
I can't hear him, Jeffrey.
Hello?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Had some internet, was unstable going in and out. I was trying to rectify it, so I hope you guys can hear me now.
Okay, let me pull up, I have your application. Let me pull up the drawing.
Very good. It's a little neater than the last ones we saw.
Yes, I wish I could rotate it.
Okay.
Here. Let me center this. Okay. Your project is on Ulster Avenue. It's north of the county complex there, across from like American Cleaners in that vicinity?
Exactly, directly across from Scanlon Cleaners, correct.
Yep, okay. So would you like to walk through your project and what you are requesting?
Yes, what I'm requesting is we moved the front building where on here it says commercial building. We moved it 15 feet closer to the road. That's why I'm asking for a front variance. Reason being was, one, for handicap accessibility for in the back, as well as parking. And also we're allowing for the fire trucks as well as cars so they can get back and around the building as well. So that's why we're asking for this variance.
So when you say you're moving the building, you're not physically moving it, you're knocking down the existing building and building a new one?
We're knocking down the existing building, but all of the north side lines of the building are staying intact. Everything's staying the same. The building structure, we just want to move it 15 feet closer so we could get the amount of parking spaces, number one, for handicap, number two, to have more flexibility for cars to go in the back and around the building, as well as for fire trucks. And that's what we're looking for here.
And again, I know you said it, but I missed it. How close to the road is it?
How close to the road is it right now?
No, are you requesting?
We're requesting 15 feet closer. I think the variance, the line is like 30 feet. And I think we're asking for 15 feet closer to the road.
Okay. And if you did not get the 15 feet, if you built the building 30 feet from it, how many parking spots would you lose? And would you for sure lose the access around the block building in the back?
Well, we wouldn't lose the access in the back. Well, what we would lose is the handicap accessible apartment that we put on the ground floor. Because for zoning, they want handicap accessibility for apartments. And we're putting in 9 apartments, 8 above the laundromat, and there's 1 for handicap accessibility in the back, as well as I think there's 2 parking spaces we're gaining. And in total, we need 62 spaces for the total site.
Okay.
I have a couple things.
Yeah, I have a few too.
If he's moving the building closer to the road, then he will actually need 2 variances in the fact that the side, if I'm correct, the side is closer than required. So he would need a variance for the side setback in the fact that the building is moving closer, in addition to the front setback.
Side setback staying the same.
Also, I did have a conversation with our fire chief, and he was agreeable to 2 access points to the building, one being on the east side, which faces Ulster Avenue, and one on the north side, which, if the building were moved back, would restrict access for our largest fire apparatus vehicle. Also, the fact that the number of apartments he is proposing would require 1 accessible. I don't prefer the term handicap. Would require 1 accessible apartment, and to put an accessible apartment on the 2nd floor would require an elevator, of which we all know there's an expense attached to that. I'm done.
And Warren, this fits in the 9W rehabilitation zone, or whatever it's called, right?
Yes, to my knowledge, it does.
I have a couple of comments.
Go ahead.
First of all, I was over there today kind of looking around, and I see where you have to have all of the space, but the sight lines, and I mean, I realize that, first of all, I think the overall concept of what housing and all that, we need it more than anything. We need housing, and I like the plan, but I really have a problem with putting a big solid building 15 feet away from the street with the sight lines in a very, very busy Ulster Avenue. It's hard enough to get in and out of there, and I went into the parking lot. I talked to the owner of, she lives next door to me. I was just asking her if she knew about what was going on with this, and she said it's hard enough to get in and out of there with the sight lines, although her sign does not help. But I feel like, especially with plantings right in front, if they're not maintained at a low distance, the sight line is going to be really bad for both pedestrians and for cars. So you better do a lot of convincing to convince me that this is worth putting 15 feet away from the sidewalk or the street. That's all.
A question. That block building, what's going to happen with that? That's going to stay there?
Which one's that, Mr. Porter? The one in the back?
Yes, the one in the back.
Yeah, the one in the back is staying existing. Correct. And what's going back there is Jane's Ice Cream, brand new manufacturing facility.
So she's going to put it back there. Okay.
Well, yeah, I own Jane's Ice Cream.
All right.
I just bought it, just acquired it, and I'm building a new manufacturing facility behind there as well.
I mean, I've seen the van there, but I've also seen tree cutting people in there. Right now,
Yeah,
you got
well,
a
there's
pile
a
of
tree
lumber in
cutting.
there.
Currently, above this restaurant in the front, there's 2 apartments, so I have them rented. In the back, the tree service guy lives in one of the apartments, rents the big warehouse space in the back of the building for me. So
Yeah.
they're leaving, and that's why I'm proposing to take this building down and putting a new building with the apartments. And
Andy hit something on the head when you're there, because on the south side of your property, for lack of a better term, don't have my compass, there's a car dealership there, used car dealership, right onto the road.
Right.
People coming in and out of your facility, if you come any closer, it's not easy. I worked at Pronto Printer for many years, where they have Enterprise now. I can't tell you the accidents I saw.
Yeah.
Kind of a road. It's a very busy place. It's going to be tough to see to get in and out of there if you're coming right on top of it.
Yeah.
well, the guy over here, the car dealership you mentioned, he's on. I own 11 and a half feet past that.
So he's on your property.
Oh yeah, and I haven't seen anything. Correct. So pretty much all those cars there, they're not there. That's all my property, and I got the survey for it.
That is very trite to try to get in and out of on a busy day.
And I've been very nice. I haven't said anything to him because I'm doing my thing, and I like to make waves. But I own it. It's proven right here. You can see it in the plan. So all those cars after the wooden fence, when you draw a line out, all those cars are not even going to be there. Because I own all that. They can't park their cars there. Because they're very narrow in and out of there.
Again, my concern is traffic safety.
I agree. So is mine.
Getting in and out, and I think sight lines are a big issue. And I'm afraid if we say 1-to-1, we are going to get a lot of other, because you know what? Look, I think your project is wonderful. I think your ice cream is off the hook. So,
me too.
and what's there is an eyesore in the front.
It is.
So I really am more than, I mean, and this is the planning board's job to talk about how pretty it's going to be and all that. But you're coming to us for a setback. And I'm thinking, if you can somehow really retool to be able to get this project without asking for this setback, because I think you're going to be really hard pressed for safety. That's just my comments. I think it's a great thing, because what's there is pretty awful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I bought it, this was my vision. I've been in the laundromat business for 20 years, and I've been in doing apartments for over 23, built buildings around all the municipalities. But
I have a question for our for our zoning is, what's the threshold of apartments where he no longer needs to put in an accessible apartment? What number is that?
I didn't know there was going to be a quiz tonight, or I would have studied.
I was just curious, because you said with 9 apartments, you're required to make one of them accessible. So I was just trying to figure out a way how to do that.
I would have to look that up. I don't have an aversion to that. Everybody who knows me knows I read the code.
Yeah.
A couple other points are, if the cars to the south in the car dealership are obstructing line of sight, it doesn't fall to the applicant, it falls to the car dealership that he's parking too close to the road. I will also from now till whenever the next meeting is, I would propose that I will measure other buildings on 9W as to their setback from the road. The first one that comes to mind is almost across the street at Xenon's,
Oh,
in that they are very close to the road also.
but those have
Right.
been there for, I mean, like from somebody who's
Yeah.
been here, one of my best friends at school got killed outside of Xenon's walking along the
Oh.
road there. So, but that was many years ago, but we're talking what goes now. And even as I look at the parking cars, even the cars at the very top going to next to the sidewalk, it's still even further in front of that 15 feet. So any of the cars just trying to see over that first parking spot is going to be hard pressed to see as they pull out. So as you're looking at this, and that's more the planning board, that's not up to us. That's the planning board's job. So I'm just looking at this as a person who just thinks too much. I'm sorry.
No, you have valid concerns. And since I'm also an attendee at the planning board workshops, we can look at the location of the parking spots for this proposed project to increase line of sight. Dino, I don't believe you're proposing parking in front of the building, are you?
I am not.
No,
Okay,
I
so
was looking at the southernmost cars, and again, that's out of our purview, is that first spot where it says 5 cars. See how close that one, anyway, that's not in our purview. That's not for us to deal with. We're
So
talking
what
about
is in our purview is I believe that the
building.
Ulster Avenue, the 9W corridor, it's cut up and choppy and frankly looks terrible
Yeah.
from the get-go. There is a redevelopment plan, and Jason, keep me straight here, but I believe that there is a specific set of objectives for the Ulster Avenue corridor as it becomes redeveloped. There are a number of buildings that are right on Ulster Avenue. The baseball card shop I can think of, the antique place that looks
Yes.
like a junk shop just north of where this applicant is. There's a number of them that come to mind. And as these properties become redeveloped, which is what we want to facilitate the applicant's redevelopment plans, but we also need to fix some of the challenges that we have along Ulster Avenue. And Jason, can you give us some background, because you've been around a long time, on the Ulster Avenue improvement plan?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The town has had a long interest in redeveloping Ulster Avenue in the town of Ulster, making it more aesthetically pleasing, some uniformity in architecture, design, etc. So that has been adopted by the town board and the planning board, and that is the official policy of the town. Regarding this project, I would note that if there is going to be some redevelopment here, it would have to go to the planning board anyway for site plan review. And furthermore, Ulster Avenue is a state or county road, so this application in particular would have to be referred to the county planning board.
Now, the requirement for the applicant to have an apartment that is handicapped accessible, my understanding from what was said is the stairway or the ramp or whatever is a contributing factor to the location of the building. Given the desire for the town to redevelop this corridor, the discussion of the minimum number of apartments before you are required to have a handicapped accessible apartment, is that a waivable or changeable requirement based on either the town board or the planning board? And would that, from the applicant's perspective, make a difference?
Yeah, that is an issue that is really not before this board. That is a planning issue.
That's right.
Regarding the development or the redevelopment of this property into some sort of apartment 8 or 9 unit apartment building. So that's really not strictly before this board as relevant to the applicant's desire to build in the setback. It's really a planning issue.
Yeah, I understand that. Mr. Ritchie,
Yes,
can
sir.
you describe the contributing factors that single apartment creates on the location? Does it have any bearing on the location? Like, if you did not have to have that apartment handicapped accessible, would you need to move the building closer to Ulster Avenue?
I got to talk to my engineer.
That's a fair answer.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is that there needs to be a partnership between the planning board here and the zoning board. I share similar concerns with, as we redevelop Ulster Avenue, we need to get the buildings off of Ulster Avenue, not make them closer. At the same time, the applicant can say, well, if you're not going to make it financially viable, then I'm just going to leave the old crappy building there and not redevelop it. And I think it's in the town's interest to develop this property and find a way to assist this applicant for redevelopment, even if it means, changing the requirements for the accessible piece. So I think that, I think that we should probably, I think that the applicant needs to do some more research on this before he comes back on this.
I might add that the accessible apartment not only goes through planning, it also is a requirement of building. So it's a state code, which is why I want to do more research into that as to at what threshold is it required.
And if it can be waived under a certain circumstance.
Yeah.
You can't waive a state code without a variance from the state.
Okay, very good.
I want to make that clear in that the state granting waivers is extremely difficult.
Got it. Okay.
I have a question. I don't know if you remember. I hope Warren remembers, and Jason probably remembers, but I don't remember who was on the board is my issue. Anyway, remember the deceasers, the chiropractors down the road? And they were before us for apartment variances, right? Or no? Can somebody refresh me on why they were in front of us? And I recall it was a commercial district that we were.
It was residential. They could not rent the commercial, could not rent the building as commercial, and they wanted to convert it to residential. And we granted, I believe, a use variance for that piece of property.
For 2 apartments, right?
I believe that's the case.
Right. Okay. I just want the continuity of it and to reflect this, and it may even be a different zoning district. I don't know. Anyway, thank you.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you dropped off.
I know, it's my Wi-Fi, guys. I apologize. I was in the middle of answering a question. Do I need that handicap accessibility department? Would that hinder this? No, I don't need it. Is it a question of if we remove that and can I keep the building the same? Will that help us? I got to ask my engineer, but that could be that could very well, maybe we don't need it. If zoning, I thought zoning wanted to have a ground level apartment for people to access. So
it wouldn't be zoning. That's not a zoning issue. That would be a planning issue.
Right.
What we're talking about is, I would recommend, if you have not done so already, to take your project to the planning board workshop, which is every other, is it Tuesday in the afternoon?
It's kind of when we get applicants applying now. It used to be the first Wednesday of the month. But now we had our last one last Thursday because that's when we were available. So, you can contact Gabby and we can get it scheduled in.
Yeah, I think that moving and voting on anything zoning related is premature at this point. And I think that you need to go through planning to get a better understanding of all the factors involved. And then if there is a zoning requirement, then come back to the board. I think that this is farther down in the planning process than you are right now. So I would like to see you go to the planning board and discuss the project with them.
If I can make a point, I mean, you're looking to double the square footage, and the layout of the laundromat looks really lovely and stuff, but you could probably shrink that footprint and still get away with what you want, and maybe shrink it just a wee bit.
I couldn't get away with what I wanted. No, there's no way, because it's a 6,000 square foot space, and to get that circulation of flow of people.
Yeah.
There's 10 laundromats in Kingston. I've been in this business 20 years. This is a laundromat that it's gonna rock, and it's designed to everybody's liking. Got 3 front doors. Everybody wants to park close to a door. I got 3 doors in there, and safety and visual, like you were talking earlier. Mr. Adarante put some trees and stuff in there. For me, I'm all about having visual and open, clean lines. If we can have this open, by all means, that's easy to get that clean and open.
And it's still the sight line. It's a solid sight line. Even with trees, you can almost see through. I feel like we're going to have to push it back some. But anyway, well, again, it's premature, and I wish you the best of luck with this, because it's a lovely project.
Well, thank you.
Just a quick question though, on the block building there, where you're going to have the ice cream, is that going to be just for manufacturing, or is that going to be a store?
Correct.
No store
manufacturing, because Jane's, we're strictly a wholesale company. We wholesale to other people for scoop shops. It's not going to be a retail kind of setup.
Too bad.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sad too.
I'm so close.
But my plan is what's going to happen in the front. There's going to be a setup where you can access pints and Dixie cups of random flavors, because currently we have 6 flavors in multiple stores. We're getting in all the Hannafords momentarily, as well as all the Adams, but we have 84 flavors. So I want to, you're going to have access in the front of this building as a laundromat style, credit card or cash. You're going to go to a machine and you're going to access all the flavors by pints or Dixie cups 24/7. You could pull in there and get it at your leisure.
That's what the meat company.
So I don't have to pay somebody to scoop it. You'll get the top quality and all the flavors at our mothership location.
That's a great
what
idea.
they do that's what they're doing with the meat in Stone Ridge, and it's working out really well for them.
It's quite similar to what they're doing out there. Exactly. But I want to have it in the vending machines, which I'm working with 3 different vending companies currently to get the right refrigeration, to get that set up there, so that all my laundromat customers can get ice cream as well, and everybody can have a happy day. You know what I mean? That's the plan. So
are you going to keep the, I noticed on the entrance there, you had one where was a entrance, entrance only.
Right.
To pull in, and then I guess the other side was a way for you to get out. Is that going to stay like that? You planning on?
We just did. Did you have a copy of the plan, Kev?
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of the big site plan? Did that get forwarded to you?
Yeah, we have it.
I mean, the one with all the parking spaces on it.
Yeah, we have it.
Okay, because it's kind of on the way the setup, the flow is on that. Yeah, it is. Here we go.
There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, again, it's just going to be a lot of traffic coming in and out of there, and I worry about the traffic.
So,
can I ask Warren a question?
Absolutely.
Warren, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, so question. You said that you met with the chief from Ulster Hose Fire District?
Yes.
And he was concerned about his big trucks, rigs, whatever they are, getting through there. Did he have any suggestions that would satisfy him with safety issues that you could share with us?
He stated to me, and then he also fired out an email about it, that he's been to the site, and if he has access to 2 sides of the building, then he would sign off, in that he wouldn't need full access around the building.
Does by default, Warren, he have access to the front of the building because he can drive up and park on Ulster Avenue?
Correct. So the question would be which other side of the building he would have access to. I'll also state that the fact that you are keeping an entrance and an exit is the channelized access from the road that county is so adamant about. So whatever you do, don't remove that.
No, that was Zero's idea.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question because I'm looking at the thing, the setback lines, even in the parking spaces that are all along the south border and the northern border.
You're talking
Does
about
that
this right here?
More to the south.
More along the property line edge. See the dotted line where it says setback requirements and they're dotted lines through the parking spaces?
Right here, yep.
So isn't that really technically another variance when you're moving the parking back against the setback guidelines? Is that really another variance that would be required to push the parking back against this, the side guide setbacks as well?
I'd have to look in and research that. I'm not sure.
I
Because
just, I know,
you're not
I'm going
building
through a
a
huge project in
structure.
Saugerties. I'm going through a huge project in Saugerties, and I'm very well aware that if I even cross those setback lines, I'd have to ask for a variance. So that's why I was just curious, just
Yeah,
asking for clarification.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, maybe we can get clear, because if we're gonna look at setback lines all across, those I don't have as much of an issue as the front, you know, that's not the problem. But if we have to do it right, let's do it right.
Yeah, look, and look, again, my statement still holds true. I think this needs to go through planning because it sounds like there's a number of open questions that need to be answered by the planning board, especially in consideration of the 9W development objectives. Okay, so you know, that's my opinion.
Good.
Okay, Jason, from a procedural perspective, what do we do here?
I would recommend that the application be held in abeyance until the applicant gets some more direction from the planning board workshop.
Okay, so what does that motion look like? A motion to adjourn?
I would say we can
Table it, to get that information.
table the motion, table the application until a future date.
Okay, and Mr. Ritchie, don't misunderstand this here. I think that all of us on the board are in favor of redevelopment, improvement, and property owner success here. We believe that the planning board is the first place to start and to discuss the project, because there may be other items that the planning board will want you to do or make other suggestions that may help you or may cause additional decisions to be made. Okay?
Mm-hmm. But the planning board workshop is what? You're going to go and show them this plan and they're going to give me their input. And if they
absolutely, yep.
For example, if they say, hey, it looks really good, and I'll bring up the point that you mentioned about I'm asking for this front variance, and that was the reason for today, to get this 15 feet closer to the road. But
yeah.
You guys are kind of iffy on that. And then the other next question is what planning and zoning is, do I need this handicap accessible build apartment in the back?
Right, yeah, and we're zoning, we're not planning and zoning. So planning is a separate board. We are just zoning.
It's just zoning, okay.
Yep.
And yeah, because that's why we had this meeting today, so I could get this variance to do this project, to move the way we thought that the zoning.
Well, you wouldn't be doing this project without going to the planning board anyway.
Absolutely, but if I need this, I think we did it right when we read. You need a handicap accessible apartment. A certain percentage of the apartments you put in have to have handicap accessibility.
Yeah.
I will research that.
From an elevator.
The workshops are wonderful. They'll give you a wealth of information and many suggestions. So it'll be very good for you.
That's why I pay my engineer money, because he's been down this road, so he knows what he's doing. That's why I pay him.
Well, you got a good engineer, so.
Yeah.
Who did your engineering? Oh, yeah.
Sierra Durante.
Excellent.
Okay. So. All right. So I'm going to put forth a motion to table and adjourn this pending the outcome of planning board meeting.
Okay, very good. So basically,
Well, hold on.
Well,
right.
I'll second that.
Okay, Gabby, can you call the vote?
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Levin,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Reginato,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. Okay, so Mr. Ritchie, this is not a no. This is a procedural, let's see what the planning board has to say. And, they may come back and say, we have no issues, talk to zoning. They may come back and say, you need, multiple zoning variances for this project. They're, I don't know what they'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay. So basically, hypothetically, they come in, they look at it, oh, we like the project, and we explained about the front variance. They're gonna say you're gonna have to go back to the zoning board and ask about this front variance. So if it comes back and hypothetically, this all looks good, and I need to say I need the handicap accessibility apartment. So this question's gonna come to you guys. Will you guys allow me to bring the building 15 feet closer to the road?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That's what it really comes down to. Then at that point, if you guys tell me no, then all this project would be, I won't be able to do it because we need the handicap accessibility building.
Now, though, but now that you know our reservations, you can take that into account as you go back and you talk to the planning board and your engineer and everything else like that, and see if there's any modifications that you can make to make this project happen for you that's at a cost-effective level and something that can be doable for everybody to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they'll come up with a solution to make
Exactly.
everybody happy, because like the chairman said, we welcome new businesses and any businesses that improve our town. So
well, anything that we can do to knock down those old buildings and replace with new nice ones, that I'm in favor of.
Right.
especially with ice cream.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Really?
This is my dream, to build my dream laundromat from scratch after 20 years of experience. So I think this is going to be the golden goose, number 11. So that's my plan, and 6,000 square feet is where I need to be. So hopefully.
Are you going to close any of the laundromats if you have any in our area?
I own the Kingston Plaza laundromat, but I'm not closing that. I own the laundromat in Red Oak, Clean and Go Express, and the car wash across the river as well.
What about the one on Morton Boulevard?
I used to own that one, and I gave it to my partners. Yeah, that's probably going to come back to me in a couple of years. So that's there too. I bought that in 1999. That was my first store.
But my question was, you're not going to close, you're not planning on closing?
No, absolutely.
Otherwise, okay. And not just a question about business. Thank you.
Was that the corner washerette?
Yes, sir. Corner washerette. I got that from Luke Manning.
They're looking to expand.
Oh, I remember when Mr. Manning built that a long time ago.
No, Luke did it. It was the water department guy that actually had that.
Was that, I just remember when it went up, my dad helped him do the.
Yeah, they're looking to expand.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Good
All right.
business. Good business to be in.
All right. I'm going to make a motion. We adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you
Thank
for
you and good
tonight.
luck.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good night.
See you all soon.
Bye now.
Thank you.